Welcome back to AWS reInvent 2017. We're here on the show floor in Las Vegas at the AWS reInvent Expo. This is Amazon Web Services Global User Education Conference, as you probably know by now. And in common with the rest of the program here today, we're focusing on interviewing some of the teams that have launched new services here at AWS reInvent. To my right, I'm joined by Tara Walker, a Senior Technical Evangelist from Amazon Web Services. And she's going to be chatting with a couple of members of one of these teams right now. So Tara, over to you.
All right, so they're probably going to be tired of me saying, what am I talking about today? I'm talking about IoT.
Yep.
They're probably like, don't talk about it anymore. But I'm sorry, I have to, I really love it. And so we have another great launch for you guys from that AWS IoT team. But we have a little surprise for you as well. So first, let me introduce, well no, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I'm going to you first. From the AWS IoT team,
Yep.
Go ahead.
I'm Andrew Kiggins, I'm a software development manager. I have been working on this for the last year, so it's really good to be here and finally get this out the door. Huge value we feel to our customers.
Okay, so here's the surprise. Are you ready? So I know you guys are like, yeah, you keep having the AWS people up there and you're telling us how great stuff is, and you don't believe us. Some of you out there don't believe us, I know it. But we have brought on stage with us a customer who has actually been using the service and can tell you the real deal. We have not prepped him, so whatever he's going to say is the truth. Now, he's going to keep him in line and keep him honest. Would you introduce yourself?
Yes. So I'm Srinivas Seram. I'm the principal architect from Philips Healthcare.
See, so real deal, here we go. Awesome. So let's talk about what we're announcing, well, what you guys are launching today, what we're talking about. You want to kind of tell the audience about the goodness that you launched today?
So fresh off the presses yesterday, at the keynote speak, we announced AWS IoT device management. And it's awesome, it's a great leap forward. We're really excited. We've been working with Srinivas for, got to be 6 months at least to get this up and running. So, he's kept us honest. And it's just finally great to get out this door. It's really going to help our customers. It's got onboarding, it's got management, it's got auditing and over-the-air updates. So some really cool features that are really going to help managing and your devices at scale, those thousands, millions of devices. So yeah, really excited to get it out there live.
So I'm going to tell you my favorite part, as I told you before, is the over-the-air updates, right? Now, mind you, I have barely the devices you have, but I was like, I can deploy all of these at one time. It's there, so I had to try it. Yeah. So, but I want you to tell us, if you will, what's your favorite part of this service? What's your favorite feature? And kind of tell us what's your experience of using the service.
I have actually two.
Okay.
So one is the jobs feature that we have, and as you said, over-the-air updates is very critical for keeping Philips devices in the healthcare providers up to date with all the latest patches and all the modalities that Philips supports. It is very key for Philips remote services to make sure that they can send latest configurations. And we are using this jobs capability for us to do that.
Nice.
Can you talk a little bit about the kinds of devices that you provide to these healthcare providers? I think the audience would be interested in knowing a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah,
yes, so Philips is a globally known brand. Everybody knows Philips, and Philips Healthcare actually has plethora of devices like CT scans, MRI machines, BP monitoring, patient monitoring. If you go to any hospital, in a room, you will see all the monitors, and they're all manufactured by Philips. And these devices, when they get shipped to the hospitals, it all starts with a right-fit service level agreement. So how Philips works is with the customer service. So just like Amazon, we are also obsessed with customer service. So it is the another key for us is to keep these devices up and running for 24/7 connectivity, for doing these patches, as well as for remote connectivity.
That's a great segue to pick on you a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, nice. Thanks.
So what, when you guys are building this, what were you targeting to be the challenges with? Okay, I want to do device management. I'm having customers come to me and say, hey, I need X. What are the challenges that people now can be happy about that are solved with this service?
I think it comes back, something we were talking about earlier before we come on stage. We were talking, at home, you've got maybe a smart lock, or you've got a smart cooker, a fridge, whatever it happens to be. And I don't know how long you took that up, maybe 15, 20 minutes to get that activated, sure. Maybe you've got a dozen devices in the house, so you spend the weekend. What happens if you get 1,000 devices,
Right.
a million devices? Like, you know, just when we start deploying these things at scale, it brings so many other problems. And what we've really tried to do is make it easy to do those tasks that you would have done manually, but more in a more automatic fashion. So,
Right.
you know, getting your devices into the platform, managing them on an ongoing basis, and as you know, the over-the update. How do you keep these secure? Because you know, security is it's not a point in time. It's a you know, it's an ongoing process where you've got to be patching and updating. So really making it easy to manage those devices at massive volume.
So we got a question. Oh, no, go
that
ahead.
brings to the second part that I didn't cover earlier, which is the custom authorizer. So our platform that we are actually building in Philips helps your digital platform actually is built on serverless microservices pattern. So we have been using API gateway and custom authorizer on API gateway. Now with IoT gateway, we would be able to use a custom authorizer and authenticate with our existing Philips identity access management. So we are using the same set of permissions that a device using a REST API call and also via MQTT use the same set of permissions.
So is this still certificate-based auth, or is it a completely different auth
protocol? So we are actually going towards OR2-based, bearer token-based mechanism.
Interesting. All right.
And obviously, I think one of the key things here is that, you know, Philips has been doing this for a long time, right? They've been doing remote sensing and data update. I mean, they're not noobs, you know. So, you know, they've invested a lot of time and money into building a platform like their authentication. So you don't want to give that up because you're moving to AWS IoT. So we built this, you know, with a lot of help from Philips to make sure that they could seamlessly use their own authentication platform transparently because of that investment they've already made. So you don't lose that investment.
Usability is a good thing in our field, right? So I have a question I want to ask, and ironically, you answered the question that I was going to ask it for, and we don't have ESP, but it's working out great. Well, I have another one about what devices will work just specifically. So someone said, so is the Raspberry Pi, and of course everybody says Pi, and I already know it does, but I want you to give the official answer. But they asked, will the device manager work with Raspberry Pi and Arduinos?
So we're very device agnostic. So you know, we really, and I think this came out really interesting in the keynote speak where Andy Jassy was talking about CPUs and the MPUs, the really small microprocessors being targeted at the free RTOS. And obviously, you know, we see all kinds of devices, you know, from the really fully fledged Linux systems all the way to those tiny microcontrollers, you know. So from that perspective, we're completely agnostic, you know, and we've already seen, I mean, over in the other building at the area, there's a lot of guys there with really cool demos, and some of them are actually using the Raspberry Pi. And so long as you can get the AWS device SDK that we have on it, and it's not a big footprint.
I'm going to ask how it's implemented. So the device management and the OTA update is implemented as a component of the device SDK, is that right?
Certain parts of it. So for example, the jobs platform. The jobs platform obviously is a huge server-side component, you know, where we do the managing and the coordination, the velocity, the rollout. But there is a requirement to have a small agent on the device to coordinate the communication aspect. So and then of course, you know, with the AWS IoT device SDK, we provide a lot of samples that customers can use to port into their environment. So we're not prescriptive about how it should be done, but there's many ways that you can solve that problem depending on the platform you're porting to.
Yeah, just to add upon that, in Philips we have all these business groups and modalities that actually manufacture these devices and ship them out to our healthcare providers. What is actually helping in AWS IoT device management is us harmonizing the device hierarchy using groups and types. So we internally
I'm like, okay, go ahead. I'm like, are we having an ESP moment? Go ahead.
Yeah, so we have an internal global master data where we are actually collecting all these different device groups, and we actually replicate that groups and types into the device management. So when a new device gets shipped into the healthcare provider, when it's provisioned, we know to which group and type to actually hook it up based on its characteristics.
So do you put the full device firmware onto the devices at shipment time, or do you put a kind of stub firmware on there, and then at the time of provisioning you do a device update in order to flash the current firmware down? Which way does it work? Is it the second option that you use?
It's the second option. And most of the case, these devices that we are talking about are big big iron clinical devices, right? On the consumer side also, we have some devices that ship with very like MCU that Andrew was talking about, but we are not there yet. So some of the use cases that we have in future is like having an AAD machine that is sitting in a mall can connect to a cellular into the cloud and set its battery status. Or so there is a requirement from compliance to check whether a device is active or not, and is it really working or not. So these kind of capabilities actually help us in monitoring those devices remotely.
Yep, of course, yeah.
Can we talk about, so you, once again, I'm tripping out about the whole ESP we got going on, but I was going to ask, so I'm going to pick on you again.
Okay, yeah.
Can you tell, for people who haven't played with it yet, they haven't really gotten into it and read about it, can you talk about what is grouping and what also is the indexing and search? And like I said, I know I'm kind of cheating because I played with it,
This is going to address the question in the channel that we have about Canary rollouts, so staging, updating the proportion of the device fleet in sequence.
Absolutely, and that's really, really important when you're talking vast volumes of fleet. And one of the things we do at AWS is we very much take that mentality of, let's get one or two things. Either, we're wanting to get a kind of tester out there, we're going to deploy a small number, make sure it works, it's all good, and then we'll start to increase the velocity. That's one aspect of it. And then the other aspect is more of a prioritization. What are the keys? I mean, I don't want to kind of get into the healthcare space because it's not really, but I can imagine there's some things you really want to prioritize over others. So that'd be another way to do it. So grouping is part of that, in that one of the ways you can do this is with jobs as part of the interaction with groups. So you can set up groups with what we call continuous jobs. And when something comes into the group or gets added to the group, it gets that automatic job kicked off. Of course, you can do snapshot jobs as well, which are kind of point in time. And then you'd be using either a number of pre-selected things, and or you're saying, I'm going to grab this whole group of things. And then one of the features is when you're setting up your job to run, you determine at what velocity you want to run it out. I mean, I think the washing machine example is great in that, you want to take a look, and this we'll talk about fleet index in a minute, and why that's important. You want to make sure that you're actually doing the right thing at the right time. So you can imagine, I've just taken all my clothes off, put them in the washing machine. I really don't want the washing machine updated as it's doing its wash cycle.
Probably not.
So we can do things like using the shadow information plus the registry information to pre-select the things that we want to upgrade depending on their state at any given time.
Nice, very nice,
so as well as the velocity rollout, we can also categorize, this isn't a good state to take the update, I can do the update. And that one, no, we're going to have to put that off and defer that or deprioritize it. So it gets really interesting when you start to marry some of these features together. So yeah, super exciting.
Cool.
Indexing.
Index a cracker. This actually, I was talking to a customer yesterday, just over there, and they're saying, well, hey, come on, I've got all these thousands of things now, but you've given me 3 attributes to work with. How do I partition my groups? So what fleet indexing allows you to do, and it's a really cool interface. You go to the interface, it's literally a one-click button. Now, there's a little bit of time in the back end till it sorts all its business out in the back end, but what eventually happens is, it allows you to index across all those attributes, the thing attributes, either in the registry or the shadow. So now you've got the ability to index and search in ways that are meaningful. And it's totally arbitrary, obviously, but so you can search by what's interesting or what's important to your business or devices.
I will tell you that's much better than combing through logs to find things. It's certain attributes I'm looking for, and I'm like, okay, I got to go through all this. Okay, finally I found it there, and I'm like, please don't let me lose it.
No, you never find it.
I'll never find it again. So can you tell us, I'm going to go back to the real world. So far you've kept him honest, right? He hasn't told anything that's not quite true. So you guys have large, obviously, deployments. How do you kind of get started? So obviously there are people out there that's like, you've kind of gone through the pain of the large deployments. When you first start testing these type of things, can you tell us how you got started and what made you feel confident that you can go forward with this product?
So just like for any software development, devices also go through the same software development lifecycle. So as Andrew was talking about, our devices first get incubated in a laboratory. And from the labs, they go to a staging or user acceptance testing, where we, for example, we run Chaos Monkey on these devices to actually break them and how they actually work in that situations. And what is key for us is to capturing all that device diagnostic data as we are running all these tests, or if they are in the field, we want to capture all that valuable information so that we take that, analyze it, and help our healthcare providers to optimally use these devices in the field. Because it is very critical for them to having these devices up and running. So downtime is a no-go in healthcare, right?
I think that there's an interesting point that's worth making at that point. You're talking about getting all this data so you can analyze your devices and their behavior. And that was one thing, originally the thought was when we developed jobs like security, patching, but actually what we ended up doing was saying, hey, there's more here. Why does it have to be focused just on that? Let's make a jobs platform so any arbitrary job can run. And what that allows you to do is actually upload data as well. You can imagine, for example, you've got massive amounts of data, and the IoT protocol, MQTT, really isn't very good at that. So jobs is a way of extracting large volumes of data much more efficiently. So that's one of the other.
How is that data transferred if it's not transferred over MQTT? Then how is it?
HTTP, for instance, or we've got another feature. Interesting, you should say that. We've actually got a way now of exchanging that X509 credential that we use to identify the device, and you can exchange that for AWS credentials. So what you can now do, you could upload it
straight to S3.
Straight to S3, exactly, or Kinesis or DynamoDB or wherever, for those large, chunky bits of data.
So we talked a lot about earlier, and this begs to a question that we came through the Twitch stream. We're listening about what about is this accessible through downstream reporting, or if I want to use it for ML. So we talked a lot about the goodness you guys coming out from the IoT platform around ML. So we have a question here about, is the metadata accessible for the downstream for reporting, and then possibly using for machine learning purposes?
Yeah, so I mean,
that was a big question.
Big question.
Yeah,
okay,
it was a big question.
We'll break it down into some small pieces, right?
Just in the 1 minute we've got left.
1 minute, right, super fast. So a couple of things in there. Obviously, one of the big announcements we did was the IoT analytics, right? Massive amount of back-end business crunching on the data. But we've also, for the longest time, had rules engine that allows you to extract that data out, and then you can push it into roles. You can then send it to wherever you want to send it. You can put it in a database. That's one aspect. The other thing that's worth talking about now is that the CloudWatch logs, we've had those for a while, text-based. Now we've got them in JSON format. The really cool thing is you can now search that. So you can now put search patterns in your logs, stream that into a database, run analytics on that as well. So there's 3 different ways of solving those kind of problems. So
great.
Hopefully that really helps.
We're out of time for this segment. Just quickly, where can customers go on the AWS website to learn more about this service?
It's all linked from the IoT page. If you look into on the IoT pages, look for device management. There's also going to be, we're about to do a presentation at one of the breakout sessions, and the very last slide, it's got a bunch of links. You can follow that. You can go to the forum. We've got an AWS forum, so we're expecting some questions in there. We had a few this morning already, and of course then they'll get the developers guide and what have you for
awesome. So it's awsamazon.com/IoT if you want more on that.
And I think there's also a blog post. You can check it out in the main blog.
And all of the sessions from AWS reInvent will be available on YouTube shortly after they are executed live here at the conference venue. So you can of course search the Amazon Web Services YouTube channel for that content that's been mentioned there as well.
Later on.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up this segment. We're a minute over, and I can see people from the guard duty team look like we're about to come on stage and displace us. So thanks for joining us for this quick discussion on AWS IoT.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Enjoy. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.